All right, Chris, thanks for joining us. I wanted to kind of bring you in today. You have started a new venture with your podcast, Church with Chris.
Yes.
And man, a lot of people are thinking about starting stuff like that, starting things like that. Obviously, we have started something similar here, and honestly, just kind of wanted to talk through it with you, how it's been so far, what kind of got you started. So, just tell me a little bit about it. First of all, kind of what the subject matter is, kind of what you're going for with it.
Yeah, so Church with Chris is a YouTube channel I started, and I've got some socials lined up, that kind of thing, but more of a long-form podcast type of deal, sort of like this, with long-form interviews with people who I think have a lot to say about the way that church life and Christianity kind of correlate with just real life. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of things that are missing, where we have a really hard time translating what we kind of learn about in church and from the Bible into just like real life situations, So, I mean, everything from how do you handle your finances? How do we consider politics? How do we think about everything that we see going on in the world? How do we deal with things like infertility? How do we, how do you reconcile what you're reading in Scripture to real life? Yeah. It's just really challenging to make things super practical. And so I think I have a lot of friends, and then, of course, admire a lot of people I'd love to talk with eventually who just have a lot to say about that, and who have, really just helped me personally. And it's kind of like, man, you would just love to be a fly on the wall for some of those conversations with people. It's like, that could have really helped so-and-so that I know. Right? Yeah. And all of us have so many things that we're putting online typically that it can feel sometimes like the internet is just this dark hole of like garbage and trash content
of times
that mean nothing. Like it just means nothing. It is just like, how can I clickbait you? How can I draw you into view whatever it is, even if it's for, a few seconds to up like view duration for content or whatever. And so it's kind of like combating. I think Christians tend to think like it's an us versus them world. Yeah. Like we're living in a world where we have to kind of push back the darkness or whatever, right? But it's like, well, the internet is a world of its own. And, I have just been so helped through online content that I figure the people who started their own things, they probably didn't really know what they were doing at first.
You realize that after a while.
Yeah, and they just happened to be the first, right? And so just for example, I learned to play guitar by watching YouTube. And like, it wasn't a teacher, it wasn't an instructor, it wasn't a class. It was like just a guy teaching you how to play one song after the next, right? And so that's how I did that, when I was in college. And so they didn't know what they were doing. They just pressed record on a camera and they started just showing you how to do it. Now, like, would they look back and think like, oh, those were probably garbage? Like, yeah, probably. Like they're probably much better at what they do now. But there was like power in being the first. Yeah. So like, I really just wanted to get mine started before you got yours started, because I knew you would try to one up me
Absolutely.
in the production game. So, but no, really, the whole idea of Church with Chris was really how can I help bring conversations to the forefront of people that I'm friends with, like on Facebook, or Instagram or wherever, people who know you, who trust you, and then hopefully it would grow, right? Like larger scale to people who don't know you.
Right.
But that idea, how can you bring quality conversations to the forefront that include Christ, that include how we should be living, and things that could be really practically beneficial to people who don't even call themselves Christians, And so I think the internet is a world of its own that really, I think a lot of Christians just don't navigate well. From the things that they post to the things that they watch or listen to, even if you're just talking like audio podcasts, things like that. So that's kind of the heart behind it. How do we navigate the world from a Christian perspective?
Yeah, that's awesome. So was there like a certain point you remember thinking like, ooh, I should do this? Or was there like a situation that made you think, you know what, somebody needs to talk about these things from a different perspective? Or was it just kind of your experience that led you to that?
It was a lot of conversations I was having, honestly, like with the political turmoil the last couple years, where it was really just like, man, if you find out somebody is like, if they have a sign in their yard that says vote for so-and-so, you immediately put them in this box that was
Absolutely.
like, this is who they are.
Yeah.
This is what they're about. This is what they care for. This is what they don't. It's not just, hey, this is who they're for, but this is also who they're against. And a lot of times if you saw a sign that said vote Republican, or like vote for so-and-so who you know is a Republican, people are going to put you in a box that says you hate this person, this person, this person, and this demographic of people. You don't care about these people. And I think that broke my heart so much because I was having such great, super nuanced conversations with people that I was close to, in my circles. And you're one of them, and several other people that we know. And you were able in an hour to sit down and kind of flesh that out, but you couldn't online. The attention span isn't enough for people to really hear a nuanced conversation of both or all sides of some kind of situation.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that was sort of a trigger moment, but also is sort of, I've always had sort of a little bit of a creative bent enough to have ideas, but not really put them into action. And so I think it just takes sometimes people saying, hey, let's just do it. Let's just do the thing.
It.
So one night my brother was over, we filmed the first one and said, okay, I guess this is it, And so sometimes it just takes somebody to like kind of push you off the cliff. Okay, get over your fear, press record, and just do the thing. Have the conversation. They're not going to be perfect. I'm going to hopefully get better, and you guys are going to hopefully get better with every single video that you do. Every project you do. So I wouldn't think there wasn't this one defining moment where it's like, that's what I need to do. But I think you also get to points, I'm not quite in my mid-30s. I won't even say mid-30s, early 30s. But you're starting to figure out what do you want to do with the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And you're still probably trying to figure that out. And people who
I
are
don't
55
know if
are
it
still
ever
trying.
ends.
People who are adults are like, you could still ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they don't know.
Yeah.
So I think for me, trying to carve out something in the future that I can build and be proud of. I love my 3 little girls. I won't have them forever around. And I think a lot of people end up, in the busyness of life and kids and work and all that stuff. We get to a place where we could end up not having built anything.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of our time,
Yeah.
And I want something to look forward to. I want to continue to be able to build something to build into people. And it also dawned on me one day that, my kids, if I were to pass away, and I'll get dark on you for a second. My dad died of drugs and alcohol when he was about my age. And so I'm 33. So he was roughly my age when he passed. I don't have videos of him. I don't really, other than snapshot memories from when he was involved in my life, which wasn't like a ton.
Yeah.
I was less than 7 years old, I think, but he didn't live with us half of that time, I think. So it was, I don't have any stuff to teach me about his personality. I don't have anything to really remember him by other than, a few pictures and then some snapshot memories. And so I think the idea of online content is really cool because, it kind of lives forever. As long as YouTube lives forever or Facebook or anything. Yeah. We have more digital media now, period. Like my wife could show my kids videos of me on phones or whatever. But how are they going to learn valuable lessons like from their dad? Like Lord willing, if I don't pass away anytime soon. But if I did, it's like my kids might have this library of like nuanced conversations about things that they should care about, that I think they should care about, and ways to help navigate the world if I were gone. And so that's the dark side of it, but it's also like the really valuable side of building a library of content that you are really proud of and that you get to invite trusted people in to have conversations about life with.
Man, that's
super valuable.
That's a whole lot deeper purpose for something like this than I think most people even go to. Yeah. Even to the fact of you're sharing these important conversations and hopefully are going to help someone else figure something out or view a situation in a different way. But that's a whole new level of this is kind of a digital journal almost, and like showing your personality and even being able to teach your kids if it needs to. That's pretty crazy. Now you got me thinking about all.
I know. And it's not even, for me, it's not even about like, I hear people talk about legacy a lot.
Yeah.
It's not even about that. It's not even about like, what are people going to think of me when I'm gone, or what are, any of that stuff. It's more just like, I don't know my dad. I didn't get to know my dad that well. And so, it would have been great if I had some kind of content that allowed me to know him. Now we're in a different age. Like it's everything seems to be documented way more than it was, even if it's just your home videos.
Oh my gosh.
That no one will ever see.
Yeah, the photo reel full on your phone of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of pictures and videos and things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So super dark. But I think deep,
I mean,
and it gives you meaning behind what you do, and
Sure.
and the fact that they're conversations. So my whole podcast is super long conversations where it is kind of back and forth. And I'd hope at the end of the episode they're 20% me, 80% them.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear what other people have to say, and I just have so much to learn. And I think the older you get, the more you realize how much you don't know. And that's, to me, that was a driving force behind let me learn how to navigate life. Let me figure out where I can improve, in my marriage, in my church life, in my service to other people.
Yeah, I've definitely found that as I've gotten older. It's like I feel like if you're doing it the right way, the more experience you have and the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And I'm not in my mid-30s anymore, so I hit the 40 mark, and still, it's just like, I don't know, just to have that outlook of constantly learning and not being entrenched in the views that you've held for your whole life or what someone else has taught you, and actually being open to have those conversations is huge. Because like you talked about, I feel like we are at least in America, probably more than anywhere else, I feel like we're way more divided than we even used to be. And part of that is probably a product of social media and everyone having, I don't know, it's like it removes a barrier when you're having a personal conversation and you actually care about the person you're talking to. And social media can kind of remove that barrier of, now I can just say whatever I want and there are no repercussions. Yeah. And I don't actually have to listen to what someone else has to say about it. I just get to throw my opinion out there. And even the political signs, I feel like you almost see as many vote for this person, but you also see F this person hanging on someone's fence or whatever. I mean, we drive by that with our kids and have to think like, yep, that's what that is. Yeah. And we have to talk about we have to explain to our young kids why maybe we shouldn't do something like that. Whether we would vote for that person or not vote for that person, just what that looks like and what kind of person we hope that we would be and hope that our kids would grow up to be, and those kinds of things. But yeah, so I think back to it, just you doing something like this and having these open conversations is incredibly needed in the digital space. And I feel like more people are trying to do it, but I'm glad that you're doing it.
Thanks. I am by no means a pioneer in it, right? I mean, there's so many people that I watch or listen to that do it way better than I do, with names of people that people actually know, and you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
right? And so why not with the people who you know what their message is, you know what they're about, you know the impact they've had on you, you know the impact they've had on other people, and like, why not give that a platform? Yeah. Like I'm just over people being famous for one. Like some people, it's like, what do they do? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're famous. They make tons of money, and they're on everything you see.
Yeah.
And then the people who what they're famous for, but it's for something stupid and ridiculous, and you're just like, why? Like, why are these the people that we give platforms to? Yeah. Right? Instead of people who actually have something to say, something that, in my mind could be eternal, if you're talking like spiritually. But then just as far as like how to navigate life, it's like we don't have teachers. Yeah. We have people saying things, but saying nothing at the same time. Yeah. And so that was kind of my conviction, is like, give people something to listen to. Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, those people who have massive followings, huge amounts of wealth, and those kinds of things are not the people generally who are going to be grounded in reality and
in normal life like everybody else. So it's hard to take like a worldview from someone whose view can be so completely skewed one direction that, you know, we need more normal people talking about normal life and important things.
Yeah. And that even brings up like what is a normal life supposed to look like, you know? So I think for me, I got to the point to kind of jump back to the other question too, about why I did this. It's like, I would hope that it could turn into something that I could do forever, or, you know, or full time. Now I know I'm not naive to the fact that, you know, YouTube runs only last 6 or 7 years for people, that kind of stuff. You know, you're going to get sick of anything you do forever.
Sure.
But, you know, the idea that you could create something sustainable that could potentially you could do every single day and get to have great conversations with people every single day, or make, you know, your company gets to make videos and hang out together every single day, like with your friends, and, you know, really build something that also helps provide for your family and all that.
Yeah.
So I think that is sort of the goal. Will that ever happen? I don't really know. You know, there's so many different ways to try to monetize what you create. But at the end of the day, I think it's like, man, if I could make that a sustainable thing, I think that would be really, really cool. Because it's more time you have to put into it. You know, you ask yourself over and over, whatever job you're at. I've been at several jobs where it's like, man, I can't do this forever.
Yeah.
But what could I do forever? I don't think a lot of people ask that question. They're just trying to figure out, like, how do I pay the bills? What job can I get? How can I make more money?
Yeah.
And, like, those things really matter. I would just love for my whole life not to feel that way.
Oh my
to where
gosh,
you'd always rather be doing something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's a whole lot to be said for being content and having purpose in what you're doing. Because I mean, I felt that same thing for a long time. So if you kind of touched on, I guess, your goal in all of that. So what would you leave someone with who's thinking about starting something similar? Because I am on the same page, especially when you look at something like this and you think there are thousands of other people doing this.
Yeah.
Why do I need to do it? And in my opinion, it's similar, even talking about in the church realm, like, there are already this many churches in town. Why do we need another church in town? Right?
No, that's a really good question. Yeah, no.
That's a hard question. But it's like, can you really have too many?
Yeah.
I mean, in that way, different people are reached in different ways. And just like what you're doing, somebody doesn't listen to these other people that you know, or somebody who's not connected to that, like, church world.
Yeah.
You know, those pastors who have big followings or churches or whatever, they're still not really probably well known by anyone outside of the church.
Yeah.
So So back to that. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about doing this?
I would say you have a different audience than, it doesn't matter who. You plug in the person. I have a different audience than so-and-so.
Yeah.
And when I say audience, I mean people consuming it, people who might click on it, people who, you know, are, I don't know, either bored or on the opposite end, like starving for something meaningful to listen to, you know, to get them through a day. I would say you have people who you can reach with the message that you have. Whether it's a Christian message or not, whatever message you have people that, you know, if you go to somebody's friends list just on Facebook or something like that, I mean, Facebook's not cool anymore, right? But if you go onto somebody and you see how many, like, mutual friends you have, a lot of times it's like, man, you could have, you know, I checked this out on a friend's page the other day. He had like 5,000 Facebook friends, and we had 100 in common. That is a ton of people that I do not have influence with. Right. And it's not about influence in regards to, like, power, but influence in regards to, like, lives that you can help touch and change, you know, for the better. So I would say you have a particular audience, you know, and in any certain niche, like, you know, I watch 5 or 6 different finance channels on YouTube, and they all have a little bit something different to offer. Yeah. You know, in forums, like, some are more entertaining, some are more creative, some are just smarter, some actually make money, you know, that kind of stuff. So some are more helpful than others to me. So I think if you're thinking about starting something, I'm tempted to, if you're thinking about starting something, I would just say do it.
Yeah.
Because, in the back of my mind, this was something else that pushed me over the edge. What if you never do it? Mm-hmm. And then you just live in this potential of what if.
Yeah.
Like, that really sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks to live in the space of I wish I would, like regret. I wish I would have done this, but I was kind of too afraid of what people would think, because like you always still are.
Yeah.
Like I still am. I'm still afraid that people are gonna, oh, I'm ugly. Oh, my set sucks. Oh, my quality,
Yeah.
audio sucks. Oh, this conversation's boring. Oh,
Yep.
There are so many things that you could say that will keep you from doing it. I think Sean Cannell from Think Media, he always just says you gotta punch fear in the face and press record, and it's like, you just kind of do, because some people, like, your first videos are going to be your worst videos.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. Even us, I mean, I literally run a video company and still have that feeling in starting something like this.
Sure.
It's like, well, I don't know what the set needs to look like, and I'm not great like talking on camera, so is it really something we should try to do, and are we going to be too busy to keep up with it, and all of these things. But to me, it goes back to what you were talking about in just having a deeper purpose with it. I feel like that's what sustains you in the long term, because it is really tough, especially starting. You're not going to get the views that you want.
Yeah.
You're not going to get engagement that you want. You're going to have to deal with all of that and feel like, why am I doing this? It's not really getting the response I wanted to get. But to have that deeper purpose behind it. And I feel like you see everyone on YouTube talk about, at least 90% of them, how they get to where they are. And it was just doing it and being consistent.
Yeah.
And it may take you months, it may take you years, but they were doing it because they were passionate about it. Otherwise, they would have stopped a long time before they ever hit that mark that they wanted to hit.
Yeah. And when you have to balance out, okay, do I want this to make money, or do I want this to, like, that's always the question you have to ask. Like, okay, yes, I want to put valuable stuff out that changes people's lives, but you have to create something that's sustainable at the same time, which takes money. And so I think if the money piece is driving you more than the other, right, than the meaningful side of it, of the creative side of it, of like, hey, I just really like this. Like, I've really liked just editing videos. I mean, even if it's like midnight, and after my family goes to sleep, it's like, okay, let me edit down this hour and 45-minute conversation to, a 45-second conversation that's going to get 8 views on YouTube, So like, I get lost in it, and it'll be 2 hours, and suddenly I'm like, oh, geez, now do I suck at editing? Like, and I'm slow at it, but it's like, oh, this is actually fun. Like, I actually enjoy this, and so when you have that kind of creative escape, it's kind of nice. And I've had less to do recently. So it's like, it was like a really nice creative outlet to do that. So I don't know. YouTube's goofy,
great,
man.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope you keep it up. Stick with it. I think it's going to be really good. So tell me what are all the places we can go to find Church with Chris?
It's really just Facebook, YouTube. Now that I know that you can put links on Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So it's Chris_J_Scott on Instagram, and then Chris Scott on Facebook. Good luck finding that. But I post a lot of stuff there because that's where a lot of the people are that I really want to reach and care about. People that I grew up with, people that
you're
I'm
actually truly connected with,
that you have relationships with, and people who might care about a local conversation, right? I mean, there are people in other states, other cities, whatever, that aren't going to know certain individuals I have on, and that's okay. You have to start somewhere, but and then YouTube's mainly it, Church with Chris. So.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you, buddy.